Well, generally as a libertarian, we do favor privatization, but overall I have to say that I think something that I want all voters to grasp about the gas price issue really is that the people who are in charge of those businesses set it up so that they can charge more. They don't drill as much as they should, and they have lobbyists to ensure that that doesn't happen. And the reason why is when you think about it, if your commodity is something, then you want it to be rare so that you can charge more for it. It's really that simple. They don't want there to be more oil. If there was more oil, then they would have to charge less, realistically. It only benefits them that oil is rare. Honestly, I think, to be frankly honest, and my mentor, Senator Mike Gravel, made this point very clear. We just need to get out of gasoline. It's that simple. We need to get out of oil. It's a commodity that's only eventually going to be gone. That's the way it is. And as it is now, especially, if people seem to think that this is something we should be killing each other over, then we need to be looking for something else. I mean, there are other options that are out there. And, you know, if you want to take a look at where that comes from, I would take a look at the documentary, Who Killed the Electric Car? And now, I don't necessarily think electric car is the best example, but it does show right on what politicians and what corporations are working together to make sure that you're still dependent on oil. So, as far as privatization is concerned, I definitely think that that overall is a better answer because we can lower taxes with it, as long as we make sure that any privatization is done with bidding, as in those who will do it for the least amount of cost to the American taxpayer, and at the same time, those who will give us the quality that we deserve. And bidding, you know, that thing that we didn't do with KBR and Halliburton, we just kind of give them a blank check to charge us whatever we want, whatever they want. Like $100 for your one load of laundry, for example. So, does that answer your question? Okay.
Thank you. And so it will be Neil asking Robert Dennison a question. So then we'll finally let him both again.
Mr. Dennison, I want to commend your party for being the party that fielded somebody who was willing to come forward and attempt to make Dick Cheney and George Bush accountable for the things that they did as president that got us into the war in Iraq. I want to ask you a question first on that issue, is that if you are elected, will you assist Dennis Kucinich and other representatives in continuing that trend of holding those men accountable, even if it goes on after they are out of office?
Would you like to be specific to name who you're talking about?
George Bush and Dick Cheney. It's a good start.
The whole world knows they're accountable. Now, do we have the will to make them pay the price for what they've done? I don't know. There was a desire to impeach George Bush, but everybody knew it would tear the nation apart, and there was very little time to do it. And Kucinich was the big mover on that. The world knows that George Bush and his band of thieves are responsible for the war in Iraq. If nothing else happens, history will pay the price. He will pay the price in history. I personally know that he's accountable. You know he's accountable. And most people who read just a little bit know that the man is accountable for the war in Iraq. And he will pay the price. He will.
Thank you. And now we have Patty Reese asking a question of our most important Candace here today.
Candace, if you are elected, what would you do to protect the Great Lakes?
Well, for one thing, there's a lawsuit that's going to be heard in February, and it is concerning the amount of mercury that's put into the air by the coal burning plant. When the mercury in the air drifts down and into the water, it becomes its most dangerous form of mercury. Of course, first the fish suffer. Ultimately, we can all suffer. You may have heard that Shell Canada had proposed a refinery a little further down at St. Clair, and our own U.S. Environmental Protection Agency moved against them and filed against them. And you know how rare that is. And Shell Canada decided not to do that. Now, for any of you that are concerned about protecting water, the Sierra Club is coming up here on Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock. They will be hoping to meet interested people at the Grace Episcopal Church on 6th Street, which I think is not too far from here. There is a proposal in my part of the 10th district. Well, it's a funded study right now, and our county put up $5,000. It's a proposal to bring water from Port Huron all the way back to Lapeer, and then test it there and see what kind of treatment it needs. Now, granted, that might bring us some jobs, but I have worked in water pollution in Chicago. I analyze for hexane-soluble oils and greases, which are more familiar to you probably as oil spills, and so on and so forth. And our farmers say that untreated water is better for the farmland. Somehow I think that MSU scientists will be able to counter that. So I'm going to keep working for this district clean water.
Thank you. Now we go on to the presentation